Okay, thank you for having me here. So this is joint work with Mark Colas. He's at University of Oregon. So this paper is motivated by the following. So effective teachers are very important for student short run and long run success, and it is crucial for economic growth and intergenerational mobility to have effective teachers in every school, no matter what kind of student body they serve. And one major obstacle to achieving this goal is information friction, in the sense that teacher effectiveness is not strongly correlated with observables, like education experience. Therefore, it is very hard to identify effective teachers upon hire. That's one. And on top of that, if you believe through daily interactions and observations, a teacher's current employer would learn about how good you are, then there will be information asymmetry between the teacher's current employer and prospective employers. So it is very well known that information friction, and in particular information asymmetry between current employer and prospective employers, can obstruct optimal allocation on the labor market. And in the case of labor market for public school teachers, this friction is interacted with two other unique features of this market. The first is, in most public school districts, teachers are paid on a very rigid experience education schedule. So if you have the same experience, same education, you're paid the same, no matter where you work. So there is little variation across schools for the same teacher in terms of wages they pay. Therefore, the relative attractiveness of the school largely depends on the non-pecuniary factors. For example, what kind of students you serve. And the second feature of this market is, well, in the typical labor market, optimality is pretty much equal to efficiency. Okay, so we want good workers to sort into more productive firms, and then let the unproductive firm die, who cares? But on a teacher's labor market, you can't say we can just leave the schools serving disadvantaged students unstaffed. That's not what we want. In fact, equity, i.e., providing students with equal access to quality teachers, is at least, if not more than, more important than efficiency. So these two features complicate the implication of information asymmetry on the teacher's labor market. So like in any labor market, if you break information asymmetry, you would make it easier for effective teachers or for more productive workers to move to better jobs. And in this case, to move to more schools with more attractive characteristics, because we don't have wage variation here. And if most teachers prefer teaching high achieving students, this kind of sorting would hurt schools serving a lot of disadvantaged students. That would lead to a serious concern about educational equity here. However, that argument I just made above is most serious if the market is closed, but the market is not closed. So think about yourself as a new teacher, whether or not you want to enter this market. you know that with information or without information friction, it is easier for you to move up as long as you're good. So this easier upward job mobility could pull effective teachers into this market. Then with this effective new flow of teachers into this market, it would make it easier for employers to replace their ineffective teachers with these new teachers who are good. So in principle, it is possible to improve the overall effectiveness of teachers in this market. So to improve the efficiency of the whole market, it is in principle possible. Therefore, the efficiency and equity implication of breaking information asymmetry becomes an empirical question, and that's what we answer in this paper. So let me give you a little bit of background. Our setting is the Houston Independent School District. This is the largest district in Texas and the 8th largest in the US. So it's independent. It's independent of the city or all the other jurisdictions. And teachers in Houston Independent School District, actually in Texas in general, teachers do not have tenure. And most of these teachers are on one-year contract. So that means it gives schools significant freedom in terms of who you want to hire, who you want to fire. And during our sample periods, there are two major policies introduced that are important for us. The first is called Aspire. Aspire is a performance pay scheme, which was introduced in 06-07 school year. So under Aspire, each teacher is assigned a teacher level value-added measure known as the EVAS score. So a teacher can get up to two types of awards. The first is the individual rewards. So teachers with EVAS score above certain threshold would get the reward. For example, if you're above the 75th percentile in the district, you get a reward. Another type is campus reward. So all eligible teachers employed at high growth schools would be eligible to get it. Yes. So the district hired independent evaluation institution to calculate that. So in terms of information, a teacher's EVAS score is confidential, but the list of winners and how much they win is publicized a lot. So that means for prospective employers, you will know whether or not the teacher is good, i.e. whether or not you are in the top quartile, for example, so that you would know. Another policy variation is called the ETI, the Effective Teacher Initiative, which was introduced in the 2010-11 school year. So the most important part of this is a teacher evaluation system. By 12-13 school year, it's fully developed into including three components. First, instructional practice. Second, professional expectations. And third, student performance. The first two components are based on in-person observations in class and out of class. Okay? And the third is basically the EVAS score. So there are other measures, other changes on the ETI. For example, they give teachers more feedback and more opportunity for development. So the information structure here is interesting. So the 3 component scores are stored by the district in each teacher's personnel file. And this is accessible to prospective employers. And in addition, each teacher is entitled an official copy of this evaluation. So basically, this is information provided to the market. And before ETI, for prospective employer, these quality measures were either unobservable, i.e. those in-person evaluations, how could you know if you are not in person? Or partially observable. For example, you know whether or not the teacher is at the top of the EVAS score distribution. But after ETI, this information is pretty much public on the labor market. Okay.
The teacher can show it, or
as a prospective employer, you can get directly. You can get it from the district.
What about the teacher itself? Do they know what they scored?
Yes, but not like an official copy. But under ETI, you get an official copy of all 3 components. Okay, sorry, no, what I'm doing. Okay, so that's why we're going to focus on the information change under ETI. So what do? We're going to use Houston as a platform, and we're going to develop an estimate and equilibrium model of the labor market for public school teachers, explicitly account for the role of information. And we're going to estimate teachers' preferences over schools and schools' preferences over teachers using only the post-ETI data. And we're going to validate the model using the pre-ETI data. And then we're going to evaluate the role of information on the market and try to do some counterfactual evaluations to see whether or not we can improve both efficiency and equity. So this is largely working in progress. So today, I'm only going to talk about part of this estimation procedure because we haven't, we're not done with estimation yet. Therefore, we're not going to validate the model. We're not going to touch the pre-ETI data unless I'm fine with the estimates. Okay. So give you a sense of what happened on this market. These are all raw data, okay? So ETI is around 2010-11. And here the black line is entrance. And the dashed line is exit. And then the lightest line here is the switch within the district across schools. You can see as if after 2011, the mobility rates in all 3 dimensions goes up. Okay. And this is the average teacher effectiveness in schools grouped by the fraction of students meeting the state standard. Okay, the dot line here is the bottom quartile of schools. And the top line there is the top quartile of schools. And the middle line is the middle 50%. You can see as if after 2012, worse schools become worse and better schools become better. And that's by the fraction of student meeting standard, but you can also see this in terms of the fraction of economically disadvantaged students. The black line is the school with the largest fraction of poor students. As you can see, you know, poor schools, the teachers' quality on average, no, the top line there is the school with fewest poor students. You can see their teacher become better and the poor schools become worse. And you can see similar picture if you just look at the fraction of minority students. Okay, so these are all raw data. So these pre versus post ETI figures provide some suggestive evidence that as if under ETI, teachers become more mobile and teacher school sorting became more assortative. Okay, however, they cannot be interpreted as the effect of reducing information friction because market conditions differ between these two periods in a lot of other dimensions. For example, 2011 is around the year of the Great Recession. Okay, so to isolate the role of information in shaping the equilibrium allocation, and of course, to do counterfactual analysis, we need a model. So here is our model. So in our model, there is a distribution of teachers and as schools in a district, and district is our market. A teacher is characterized by X. X is two-dimensional, X1, X2, teacher experience and education, and QV. These are two measures of teacher effectiveness. Q is basically the EVAS score, and V is the ETI score based on in-person evaluations. So S0 is a school a teacher is attached to at the very beginning of this model. So if you are already working in this district, then S0 is one of the schools. If you are just a potential entrant, then S0 is 0. So in terms of school, a school is characterized by a vector of school characteristics, ZS. The first dimension of this vector is student body. And the school has a capacity. So the game is very simple. Schools simultaneously make job offers to teachers, and the teacher observes her taste shock and choose her most preferred option within her offer set, which always include the outside option. So information structure, public information, school characteristics, and teachers' characteristics in terms of education experience and the initial employer, S0. And a teacher knows everything. A teacher knows her characteristics and observe her preference shock right before making her decision. And in the information about teachers Q and V, Q is value added, V is in-person evaluations based in-person evaluation, varies across policy years across schools. So let me use the big gamma S as a notation to say, okay, so now you have a teacher with X, Q, V, and S0, and you are the school S. What kind of information you have? Okay, so this is the information set a school has.
Would it make a difference so that it includes something like match quality? So it's not just your effectiveness, but how you fit with your colleagues at a school. That would be an unobservable match specific school and teacher effect.
We allow for a very limited match effect in terms of we interact teachers Q and V with the student body. But that's in an observable way, not the unobservable way. So anything that's unobservable is this loggia shock, the preference shock. But we don't have that match quality based on unobservable school component. We don't have that.
Is that because you don't think it's important, or is it just hard?
It's hard to identify. That's what I think is the biggest problem here.
What about the student body for exogenous?
Yeah, it's exogenous. It's exogenous.
You can't search for the type of seizures.
So we have sort of, I think for estimating it, as long as the student body is observed, that's fine. But when we do the counterfactual, it's subject to that criticism. So the information structure, if you are a district incumbent teacher, okay, so for school district incumbent teacher, if the teacher is XQV and S0, if you are the current employer, then you know everything. Okay, that's our assumption. Before EDI and after EDI, you know everything. But if you are other schools, after EDI, you know everything. It's public information after EDI. But before EDI, you know X, you know S0, you know nothing about V. V is in-person evaluation. And then you know whether you basically know the Aspire award outcome, which is a function of Q. So you know something about Q, okay? And if the teacher is a potential entrant, the information is incomplete but symmetric. So any school, they only observe X and S0. They don't know Q or V. Okay. So teachers' preferences. Teachers' utility for working in school S is given by the following. So W is a wage function set by the district, including the Aspire award in the baseline. Of course, in the counterfactual, we can mess around with this function here. And the teacher care about the vector of school characteristics at ZS. And that's the, I just mentioned to John a minute ago, we allow for some certain interaction between the teacher quality Q and V with the student body ZS1. And then the last term here is just the moving cost. So if you need to change employer, you might suffer some sort of moving cost, which can vary across teachers' experience level. Okay, so one thing that we simplify substantially is this. So the W function here includes the Aspire award. If you remember, Aspire award is not only your own individual level award, you could also get a campus level award. And campus level award, essentially actually depend on who else is working on that campus. To avoid multiple equilibrium in terms of teachers' coordination, we assume that teachers use previous year campus award outcome to infer which school will be eligible for campus award this year. Okay, so we avoid this simultaneous interaction in terms of teachers' acceptance decisions. So that simplified the thing a lot. And in reality, the campus award eligibility is very stable across years, at least during our sample period. And then the value of the outside option is basically, this is outside function, basically a reduced form function of this teacher's characteristics and minus the moving cost. So the district incumbent teacher's problem is you choose among the schools that give you an offer, OS equal to 1. If this school S give you an offer, you choose the best one. and epsilon just IID shock. Okay, so V1 here is a district incumbent teacher's value function. Okay, so now things become a little bit non-standard here when we're talking about the potential teachers or potential entrance problem. So if you're a potential entrant, your quality Q and V is not observed by schools at the beginning. But once you enter this market, your future value will depend on your Q and V and on the initial employer you from whom you accepted the offer. So if you are forward looking at all, you should take this into account. Therefore, we model the payoff of working in school S for entrant as the following. So first of all, the first component is just this period utility of working in this school, which is the same as the entrant. Plus, tomorrow, you will become a district incumbent with this employer. So we're going to take that into consideration. Okay, so a potential entrance problem is just to choose the best school who gives you an offer or the outside option. Now flip to the school side of the problem. A teacher's value to school S is given by this B function here. Okay, for a teacher with characteristics X, quality Q and V, if you are a school with ZS, that's the benefit of that teacher if you hire to you. And the assumption we make is this B function is weakly increasing X in Q and in V. Now, school's problem. So for a teacher, if you observe this gamma S, remember this is the information set as school S has about this teacher. And based on your information, you make your job offer decision. And OS is equal to 1 if you make an offer to this teacher. So your objective is trying to maximize the total expected value from all teachers you hire. So this B bar S is, okay, so let me talk about HS first. HS is the probability that a teacher for whom you know gamma S would accept your offer. Okay, and B bar S is the expected value from this teacher, basically expected B function from this teacher, conditional on her acceptance. That's the endogenous equilibrium object. Okay, so then both the acceptance probability and the expected value from this teacher are derived from the teacher's acceptance probability, which is implied by the teacher's optimal decision and all the other schools' offer decisions. Okay, your constraint is you have a capacity constraint. Okay, so that's a school's problem. Equilibrium is very standard. Teachers have to accept job offers optimally. And given their belief about teachers' acceptance probabilities, school make offers optimally. And the belief have to be consistent with all the agents' decisions. Now, let me just take one slide to think about what this model implies. So teachers' acceptance probability, which is basically the key of the equilibrium here. depend not only on the teacher's preferences, but also on other schools' offer decisions. In particular, all else being equal, a teacher is more likely to accept an offer from you if the teacher has fewer options, and in particular, if the teacher is fired by her own employer. And when a teacher's employer is the only school that has full information about the teacher's quality, then you will be worried about hiring a teacher from other schools because maybe the school, the teacher is too bad and got fired. So you face a winner's curse problem. And due to this winner's curse, schools are unwilling to make offers to other teachers from in other schools, and that would make teachers have fewer offers, therefore low job mobility. So if you relax information friction, it would make easier for these teachers to move up, and this would affect not only the school teacher sorting among incumbent teachers, but also affect entry and exit. So this is basically what we want to capture in this model. Okay, so estimation. We're going to estimate our model in 2 stages and leave enough information for validation. So in the first stage, we're going to estimate all model parameters using only the post-reform data. So the parameters include teachers' preferences over schools and moving costs, and schools' preferences over teachers, and third component is the teacher's outside value. So then in a second stage, we're going to fix teachers' preferences and schools' preferences, but we allow the teacher's outside value to differ between the pre-ETI period and post-ETI period. Because like I said, ETI is right around the time of the Great Recession, and we don't believe the outside value would be the same across these 2 periods. So we allow outside value to be different. But then we assume that teachers' preferences and school preferences are the same across these 2 periods. So then in the second step, we're going to estimate this third component for pre-EDI period by matching only entry and exit moments, not the sorting moments at all. So then we're going to do model validation using all the other auxiliary models. Okay, today, like I said, there's no validation. We're still estimating. So identification. A challenge here is the fact that we don't observe offers. We only observe accepted offers. So then the question is, how do we separate teacher preferences from school preferences when we only observe the matches? So let's try to remember here, the expected marginal benefit of hiring a teacher for a school, given the school's information set gamma, is given by this B bar. The expected value of this teacher, conditional on my information set. And the marginal cost is just a shadow price of my spot. And the marginal cost is same across teachers. So the second bullet point would tell you why I use post-EDI data to estimate the model, not the pre-EDI. Okay, so post-EDI, the information set is full, is complete information. Okay, therefore, the B bar becomes just the B. B is the fundamental, the primitives, the school's preferences over teachers, not the endogenous B bar here. Okay, so, and as I already mentioned, B function itself is weakly increasing in all characteristics of the teacher, which is our assumption. Okay. Now, given this assumption, then if you observe me working for Wisconsin, then you observe another person who is weakly better than me in every dimension, in X, in Q, in V, then you know that person must have had an offer from Wisconsin. And in the fact that that person is not working in Wisconsin tells you that she prefers her current school over Wisconsin. Okay, so by this logic, I can use observed matches to construct for each teacher a subset, not the full set, but the subset of offers the teacher received. Then from this subset, we also observe the teacher's choice. Okay, your choice within this subset tells me about your preference, because everything within this subset is feasible. Okay. On the other hand, for each teacher, the whole set of school S is equal to this trivial union of offer set and non-offer set. Okay. Now, if I were to assume that every teacher is getting offer from everywhere, I can also infer teachers' preferences, assuming they have offers from everywhere. But this set of preferences inferred this way would be different from the set of preferences I inferred in my previous slide, because this preference estimate or inferred preferences, so to speak, is contaminated by the existence of this non-offer set here. Okay. So that means the discrepancy between the two sets of inferred teacher preferences, it depends on which school didn't make offers to which teachers. And that is in turn governed by schools' preferences over teachers. So this discrepancy can tell me something about the school's preference. So we can learn about school preferences from this discrepancy. In particular, schools' preferences have to generate not only the observed offers, but also the lack of offers to reconcile the discrepancy. Okay, so that's basically our identification argument. And our auxiliary models follow this identification argument. In particular, it would include two regressions of exactly the same format, characterizing teacher-school matches. In one regression, a teacher chooses from the infer subset of offers. In the other regression, a teacher chooses as if the teacher can choose from the whole set of schools. And then we have some moments capturing teacher entry and exit patterns. So our data, we have 3 linked data sets from Houston. And the teacher level data, if you are already a teacher in Houston, then I basically observe everything about you. But I don't observe everything about potential entrants. So we're going to use the distribution of teacher experience and education in neighboring district. So there are 64 non-Houston Independent School District within the Houston MSA. Okay, within the same MSA, we assume these teachers are potential entrants. And we don't know these teachers Q or V, but our assumption is the conditional distribution of Q and V, conditional on X, is the same in Houston and outside of Houston, within the same MSA. And with that assumption, we would know the joint distribution of Q, V, and X for potential entrants. And we have student data, we have school data. So give you some summary statistics. So these are post-EDI data. So teachers, so these are incumbent teachers. They're older, and these are entrants. These are entrants who entered the market, not potential entrants. The entrants. Okay, so they are younger. And in terms of Q and V, they are weaker, mostly due to their younger. Okay. And these are schools. So these are the bottom quartile of schools in terms of student achievement. And these are the top quartile. As you can see, you know, the mean of fraction of students who meets this school standard is only 50% in the bottom. At the top, 90%. Quite large difference. And then in terms of funding, it's actually the opposite. The bottom quartile got more funding. That's because the district give more money to poor students. And then they're smaller. Now, these are the, if you look at schools by quartile of student achievement, you can see clearly the average teacher characteristics in terms of education, in terms of value added, in terms of in-person evaluation, clearly a sortative match. And then in the post-EDI period, exit rate is about 20%. And the fraction of entrants divided by staying incumbent is about also 20%. So these are primitive, these are the preliminary estimates. This column is not very interesting. It basically says the outside option is increasing in every characteristics of the teacher for incumbent and for entrants. I want to call your attention to this though. So this is teachers' preference for the student body. And this is the interaction terms. We don't impose any sign restrictions, but they turn out to be positive. All three terms are positive. That means an average teacher like to teach in better schools. Not only that, if you're a higher quality teacher, your preference in that dimension is stronger. Okay. So these are the schools' preferences for teachers. So in terms of, remember, we assume it's weekly increasing X, Q, and V. So these are education and experience. So again, in order to imposing this weekly increasing assumption, we're going to use this functional form here. So it's exponential of B1 times the student body, fraction of the fraction of students meeting standard. Okay, and we're normalizing this term to be 0. So teachers' value to a school is measured in value added. Okay, so this is the same functional form, but for the in-person evaluation of the teacher. Again, conditional on this exponential function, we don't impose any sign in terms of B1, B2, B3. But it turns out to be this way. So it says, all schools, no matter who you are, you care about Q more than you care about V. And if you are a school with better student body, your preference for teacher quality in terms of Q and in terms of V are also stronger. We don't impose any sign there, but it turns out to be that way. Okay, so what's the implication from this parameter estimate if our next iteration keeps this way? Says higher quality teachers have stronger preferences for higher performing schools, and higher performing schools have stronger preferences for teacher quality. Okay. So that means without any friction, these preferences per se would induce assortative matching. And that would per se leave low performing schools behind. So sorting can be less assortative with some information friction due to the winners curves. Okay, so the model fit is okay, but it's not great. For example, we're over predicting the assortativeness of this market. So it's still improving. Now, but let me show you with this not finalized parameter estimate. Let me show you one counterfactual we run. Okay, so we're going to use the post-EDI data. The post-EDI market initial conditions. We're going to simulate the equilibrium where we're going to take EDI out of the market in terms of information structure. So you're back to the pre-EDI information structure. So this is what you have. Base is the post-EDI equilibrium. New is if you take out the information introduced by EDI. As you can see, things become less assortative in terms of experience. These are the schools by quartile of student achievement. So less assortative, a little bit in terms of experience, the same for value added, and less assortative in terms of the teacher's daily practice as well. Okay, so these are all I have today. So I guess I'll just stop here.